Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bedomy, and this is Warhammer Mark of Chaos, the Gold Edition, which is honestly, I'm not sure if it's a remaster or just a updated version of the Mark of Chaos game that came out in 2006. It is a complete package of the whole Mark of Chaos game as it was published. It includes the base game, and it also includes the Battle March expansion. And it also includes the HD high resolution support, so you can play this in 1080 or higher, if I'm not mistaken. But I have a 1080 monitor, so I cannot go any higher than that. So I honestly cannot confirm this if that's true or not. But I think there are a couple of mods that will assist you in getting higher resolutions if you're interested in those. Anyway, what is this game first and foremost? It is an RTS pretty similar to Warhammer. I really started going for Warhammer 3. I meant Warcraft 3. It's an RTS game first and foremost. You have a hero unit and you have an army to lead with it. That's about it. Think of it as Warcraft 3 with Warhammer theme. Warhammer themed Warcraft, which was a ripoff of Warhammer, so it comes full circle at this point in life. But there are some twists to it, though. Honestly, the gameplay takes influence from Warcraft. Damn it! I'll keep mixing those two up throughout the whole video, aren't I? Anyway, the game takes great influence from Warcraft 3. You have hero units, you have regular units, and all your units will be able to level up, similar to Warhammer's Total War, but also any other Total War game you ever played. Instead of leading a small army of singular units, you have platoons of specialized units that follow the hero of the story. Or, well, not just the story, but also the multiplayer, but we'll get to that when we get to the gameplay itself. And it'll make much more sense than me describing it right now, but honestly, this game is done a war for Warhammer Fantasy when it comes to RTSs, at least for 2006 when the game was published. Warhammer Total War was not even a glint of an idea in the developers' minds. And to be fair, Sega didn't have the rights for Warhammer just yet, so they couldn't even make it if they wanted to. Anyway, first and foremost, let's take a look at the options. As you can see, we have 3 separate categories: gameplay, video, and audio. So for the gameplay, you can rebind every command to a separate button or a mouse key. That's always good. You can also adjust the border scrolling. If you want to see the shooting range of your ranged units, you can disable it or enable it to your personal preference. And you can also choose if you want to see your allied forces in a particular color. So they will be highlighted for your viewing pleasure and ease of access. Well, not access, but also ease of recognition. It will highlight friendly units so you don't attack them by mistake. Granted, I doubt you can actually attack friendly units in multiplayer or in the single player, but not clicking on them by accident and using an ability you are saving for a tough enemy is a good thing. The video options are separated into 2 separate categories: general and detailed. And general is kind of a letdown. I mean, yes, most of these options are. I was thinking of are here in the detailed section, but why isn't just all of this categorized into one single category with just some basic scrolling down? You can, with a basic scroll down option, you could save yourself some time and effort. But okay, as you can see, this is the game has 1080 support, which is good. In this day and age, a lot of people play their games in 1080 at the minimum. I'm not sure if the game supports 4K resolutions or higher, because I don't have that big of a monitor, so I'm working with what I have. And I can also adjust the brightness in the general category. Details allow you to adjust the texture quality, shadow quality, terrain, water quality, and other visual effects. And you can adjust them to your own personal preference. Audio options, as you can see, are, well, nicely organized. You have a master volume, voice volume, effects slider. Everything has a separate slider which allows you to adjust the music and other audio effects to your own personal preference. And you can also turn subtitles on or off. And this is not something I see often in many games, but randomized sounds is pretty fun. It's a good inclusion in my book. You won't get the same response by selecting a different unit. You will always get something random. So every unit has multiple responses to your inputs. I like this. Honestly, it makes things interesting. So before we get to the gameplay, I already mentioned that this is a Dawn of War for Warhammer Fantasy, and this is what I mean. You have a pretty big selection of factions. Well, not a big selection of factions, but you have different armies you can choose from, and you can also customize them to your own personal preference. So let's see. Do I want to go with the Empire or Chaos? High Elves, Orcs, Elves, Skaven. Tell you what, I'm gonna choose one, just one unit, so you can see what I mean. Let's try to color them. Let's try to customize them a bit. So, let's yeah. Damn it. This occasionally happens, but okay, excuse me for a second. Let's take a look at the army painter itself. As you can see, I can adjust my color schematics to my own personal preference. Depending on the army I'm using. Unfortunately, some armies do have some color schemes set in stone. For example, the Skaven cannot change their fur color. But I think that my army soldiers can be, there we go, can be painted to my own personal brand of pink. Ah, perfect. Let's see. The pink army marches on. Mostly. I mean, this is just to be ridiculous, but yeah. And as you can see, we can the team working on the game really went all out. They created multiple models for the same unit, so you don't just get generic foot soldiers. You can actually get some pretty unique well, not completely unique, but you have a variety of soldiers in your roster when you're fighting. And as you already noticed, this game features some similarities to both Warcraft and Total War. From the Total War side of things, you have a point budget which you can spend on creating a specific army composed of different units that have several soldiers in their platoons, and they all cost differently. You can customize their color schemes and equipment to a certain level, and you can also call in hero units to actually boost your morale, and as well as change the losing situation to a victory with their abilities. I also think this is where Warhammer Total War took some inspiration from when it came to their hero units. Granted, Warcraft 3... no, wait, I did... yeah, it is Warcraft 3 also did that by introducing hero units. But, yeah, let's not waste too much time on just talking about the game, and let's show you some gameplay, shall we? So I'm just gonna show you the skirmish, honestly. Now let's see. Give me a sec. Yeah, I just choose skirmish. Let's put it into a normal battle. Oh, yeah. Never mind, I think we're... there we go. I do apologize, it's been a while since I played the... since I actually played the... since I actually played the game on Skirmish. I mostly played the story mode. So, yeah, I am... I mostly played this I mostly played the story mode, so I didn't play skirmishes as much, so I'm kind of rusty with this one, but the gameplay stays the same. As you can see, I already showed you the army painter, so I'm just gonna go with Austin Mark Mercenary, with the Austin Mark army. So let's just let's create a quick one big army that will well, not a big army, but actually, yeah, let's create a fairly decent army we can deal with. So let's see, I have a captain, let's grab a wizard, and let's grab us a couple of handgunners, swordsmen, halberdiers. As you can see, I have quite a bit of a budget to work with here, so I can create a fairly big army, honestly. So let's let's go wild. Let's see, we have 2 of each. Actually, no, we don't. Right, we spent most of our gold on, I won't lie, it's not the best army, but it is a fairly decent army, if I do say so myself. So I'm just gonna randomly pick one of these orcs. Wonderful. Right, we have a randomly generated army here, which will be a challenge to deal with. So let's start the game. I'm not gonna lie, I really do like this game. It's a good blend of Warcraft and Total War in a lot of areas. It has a lot of attention to detail and love put into it, and it shows. Every unit, all the units are expertly animated. Every character has its own unique animations that look to them. And as you can see, this is where our Total War influence shows. You have a deployment phase where you have to choose when and how you want to position your troops and where. As you can see, every unit has is composed of several smaller units, so that you have a massive army you can lead. Nope. Yeah, bollocks. Sorry. I kind of forgot which. Nope. I keep forgetting what's the rotation button. Oh, for God's sake. Nope. Nope. Anyway. As you can see, this is our army. If I could just remember what was the button for rotation. Nope. Oh God. This is gonna be... Nope. Don't wanna... Nope. Ah, there we go. Ah, there we go. I keep forgetting what's the rotation button. It's always something I would press... I'm gonna press last. Anyway, as you can see, every unit has its own...
we await your command.
Smaller units composed into it, and you can also position them in a specific...
We stand ready to fight.
Into a specific... position.
Minecraft's greatest invention.
As you can see, we can also position our...
Plenty of targets over there, my lord.
Do we have a target?
We can position our cannon teams on a specific location and just organize our ranged units into position as well.
Await your command. Your soldiers are ready, my lord. Taking up new positions. Assuming new positions now, my
So
lord.
let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to organize myself as well while I'm... So this should give us a decent advantage here.
Quick march!
Behind every
Higher
great
ground
man
should
is
give
another
us
man with a
good
big
cover.
sword.
What are your orders, my lord? Men of the Empire!
As you can see here,
advance! Step out smartly, lads.
as you can hear, I
We
am
are sworn to protect you, my lord.
We took the Emperor.
as you can hear, I am
We have our orders, men.
Behind every great man is another man with a big sword. There is no greater honor than to die for the Empire.
Death to the foe!
Okay, I'm just gonna position myself real quick.
This shall be your retreat.
Give my
I shall leave us.
send my forces before we send our forces into battle. Anyway, as I wanted to say, If you look at the banners above the units themselves, you can see the units' health as well as their morale. The morale is probably the bigger issue you should pay attention to when your units engage the enemy. If the morale falls quicker, so if your units lose morale, they will abandon position and just run away. So you might want to have a hero or a couple of units around them just to boost their morale passively. And depending on
greater than you can imagine.
and depending on the character you play with, you can also equip additional equipment on your heroes. As you can see, my mage as well as my commander can equip additional equipment on them, and as they level up, they'll get points they can spend on specific upgrades for either combat, command abilities, or dueling abilities. Now, dueling is pretty nice and unique, and a very unique gameplay mechanic in this particular installment. When two hero units engage each other, they will...
Men of the Empire, advance!
When two hero units see each other, they will start moving towards each other, and they will be locked into a dueling state where they cannot be injured by anyone else except the other hero unit. And once your units and once the two are in combat, they enter a dual state where they have to choose between three different fighting stances: defensive, offensive, and tactical, which is a mixture of both, if I remember correctly. I honestly don't usually go into duels because they are interesting, but once you level your character up, but in the early game they're pretty boring to watch because it's just two characters just wailing at each other and dealing minimum damage to each other. So it's more of a fight of numbers fight than anything else. It's not a actual test of skill. It's a roll of the dice, honestly. If one character misses, the chances of the other character missing are also pretty high. And same goes for hitting. So until you get some
rewards the bravest.
Until your character levels up a bit and has a few abilities in the dueling skill tree, his fights will be pretty boring, in my honest opinion. So
we shall rule the battlefield.
So I usually avoid them early on in the story mode. I avoid them as much as possible. But to be fair, the story mode has some pretty interesting gameplay mechanics on its own, so it's a good purchase if you're interested in a fun story with a good gameplay behind it. The multiplayer side of things, I honestly never tried, so I can't vouch for it, and there seems to be a slight video glitch there. But as you can see, every army has several different units that you have to compose into in a smart formation in order to achieve victory.
Our advance must continue.
The cavalry, for example, is very good for rushing in and doing some not light damage, but doing some burst damage, which is a lot of damage in a small amount of time, and just once you do that, you just rush them over to a different.
We shall rule the battlefield.
You just rush them out of danger and repeat the process. That's how cavalry usually works. The long-range fighters, as the name suggests, are pretty devastating when they're fighting from long range, but oh dear. Whoa! And as you can see, the enemy health is already upon us.
Death will follow me.
Let's see, we have to get rid of those catapults really quickly. Oh boy.
Do we have a target?
Okay, let's see. Mortars, I need to attack those. cavalry just...
I shall be
Whoa, boy. Yeah, as you can see, siege towers are pretty devastating, and if you're not careful about your positioning, you're gonna lose your army very quickly. As you can see, my swordsmen are dealing with a troll, but we lost one army already. So I'm gonna quickly use my abilities, and oh my god, I'm getting devastated here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna lose No, I need to shoot that. As you can see, I keep missing immensely. So I have to do some things. I have to be smart about this, and oh god, this is... This is not going well for me. But at least you can see the combat is going... sorry, there's no dedicated pause button, so I can pause the action for you to see it, but... Yeah. We are losing this one. We are losing this one. I'm not gonna make excuses. Let's see. Oh, we lost this one. But at least you guys saw how the gameplay works. When the morale is when your units lose morale, they will abandon position and run. And if they get off the map, you lost that unit. And honestly, that's kind of better than just losing the unit entirely. If your units escape from the battle, you can at least resupply them. You still have your army. You will have less warriors in your army, but you can always replenish them in the next session. Yes, I want to quit, but yeah, this didn't go as well as I hoped. Whoa. Okay, that happened. Anyway, yeah, that's the basics of the gameplay. You have to consider your unit composition as well as your hero composition to complement your soldiers. As you just saw, I only had 2 heroes, and I clustered my units together in hopes of luring the enemy closer, and in order to defeat them with cannons and long-range weaponry. That honestly didn't work well to me. Didn't work as well as I hoped, so I'm just gonna go to the... I'm just gonna load up a previous save. Let's see, yeah, Chaos. I did play a bit of the humans, the human campaign, but I realized that the Chaos campaign is chronologically the first campaign that happened, so I started playing that one. So as you can see, this is the story mode of the game, where you have to play with 2. Okay, where you either control the story's main hero, which is Thorgar the Blooded One, as he leads his armies to victories and conquest of across the empire. And you also have the Skaven Lord Casket. I do apologize. This is I don't play Skaven often in this game, so I'm not entirely not the biggest fan of them in this particular game. I do love them in Total War, but in this game they're too squishy, and I mean, that's honestly how they are in the actual lore. They are fairly weak, and they don't have high. Their general morale is pretty low, but they do make up for it with devastating warp cannons and devices, depending on the clan. That is, Clan Squire is pretty much engineering-oriented clan, and they have a lot of unique gadgets they can utilize in the battlefield, such as cannons, warp lightning cannons to be more precise. And this is something I really like about the developers. They didn't have to, but they went out of their way to commission artwork of every unit and weapon that you're going to be using in the game itself. Not only that, but they also give you a quick, digestible description of every unit and weapon you're going to use. That's always great. It really warms my, well, not only my, well, warms my heart, honestly, when you see this much dedication and love for the franchise. And then you kind of get heartbroken when you realize that Games Workshop is punishing its fan base for basically doing free promotion for them. But with for example, the Emperor to text-to-speech device and other creators who created animated content in order to celebrate their favorite factions, as well as the world that has them, that features them. They're punishing them with they basically punish them with content copyright strikes. I mean, instead of rewarding your fan base with who that obviously loves and supports your universe, you go out of your way to go and make them miserable. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, and honestly, now that I think about why I'm kind of regretting the fact that I'm making a video about this game. Well, not about this game itself. It's a good game. I really love it. I just I'm not the big. I don't want to support the company. That's what I'm trying to say. It's kind of it's a catch-22 at this point. Anyway, as you can see, the story has a pretty well, not a unique setting. It's basically your hero wants to do something, and he has to gather on the basic premise is the main hero of his or of every chapter has a specific goal, and he has to gather an army in order to achieve it. And as you progress through the story, you will progress across the world, making pit stops at specific locations in order to either fight different armies or other champions in a duel. And depending on where you stop, you can also make camp where you can recruit new soldiers for your cause, or just resupply your forces, or recruit additional heroes. That's, as you can see, my Chaos Horde is pretty big. We have a couple of siege cannons, as well as several demons willing to fight for us, and we also have a pretty big number of Chaos Warriors willing to fight and die for our cause. Since this is Chaos, they pretty much focus on melee damage than anything else, but you do have some pretty decent ranged units, which can be upgraded at the armory. Just to warn you, every upgrade will cost you a hefty amount of gold, so be careful if you have two separate armies on the map, because the gold doesn't transfer. Because your gold budget is universal, so if you spend all of your money on one army, you will not have enough to upgrade your secondary army, and that's a problem if the story mode dictates that these two armies are going to be separated for two different goals. So as you can see, the Skaven at the moment need to go towards the Briar Tangle, and we don't have the money to. We don't have any money to actually upgrade or purchase new soldiers for our cause. That's kind of a bummer, but
The noisy man
you do have a
wants to
pretty
find
interesting.
Elf. I know where Elf is. In Hightower. We go to Hightower now, yes, yes? Imbecile! No, no! Hightower, strong fortress. No! We go to Dark Lair. Yes, yes. Get more weapons. Then we attack Hightower. Dark Lair. Yes, yes. We go there first. Fool. How you ever make Paw leader?
We also get some interest. We will get some funny dialogues between. Dialogues between between the army leader and some of his lieutenants on occasion, depending on where you stop on the map. Most of the time, it will just be a. It will be a battle between. It will be either a camp or a battlefield that you have to partake in, and when you resolve the duel or the battlefield, you'll be rewarded with some items as well as money. So it's in your best interest to explore every map you're on when you're... Actually, give me a second. I'm going to try to load up a previous save. Let's see. This is an earlier. This is quite earlier in the game, but it's a pretty good. It's a pretty good map in all honesty. The basic idea of the map is to. Oh, for God's sake! Where was it? First sacrifice. There we go. The basic idea of the game is to explore every battlefield you're on in order to find magical items you can equip on your soldiers in order to fight through the battlefield, as well as to get experience for your characters. And one problem I have with the game is you cannot save mid-mission if you have to stop for some reason.
Burn it to the ground!
I'm just gonna...
Raise a clamor of war and the pyre of the dead so that the gods might notice us!
The gods control us.
So let's go with this. I'm
It shall be!
just gonna use my abilities here.
Let us slaughter these weaklings!
Drive back those northern dogs!
We do not fear this foe! The power of chaos flows within me! I shall wreak death upon my...
As you can see, the game has a very...
As my lord wishes, it shall be done.
Has a very chaotic combat flow to it.
power of chaos flows within me! The warriors are victorious!
What I was trying to say, your units will automatically engage the first unit they come across, so you will have to consider your movement carefully if you want to avoid engaging the wrong enemy. So as you can see, I specifically ordered my marauders to go and attack the long-range fighters, but...
Be careful and watch for traps. How might I serve the gods?
But
Destroy them all!
the moment they came across the Imperial swordsmen, they forgot my orders and just went to battle with them. And as you can see, this bar has been filling up for several battles already. This is my mana meter. Depending on how it regenerates, but depending on its percentage, I will or will not be able to use specific abilities. Granted, most of them have a cooldown, so I have to wait for a couple of seconds before I can actually use them. And as you can see, the
Prey has been sighted.
there is an indicator of how much mana you will spend in order to use the set ability. So, as you can see, we also have some other.
Dominate!
We have multiple factions. We have multiple factions fighting here for dominance. So in most cases, it's smart to be.
Death for the Death Lord! Forward, kinsmen!
It's smart to be careful and use your soldiers in
The
a.
mystery is solved! It appears that we are not the only ones with our eyes set on this tarnished prize.
In order to actually achieve victory, you might want to abuse the AI a bit. Basically, support one army you can handle and destroy the army that will cause you troubles. So the second Chaos army that's currently attacking the city is pretty tough. So I'm going to get rid of them first and foremost, and then pull back from the fight in order to let the Empire return to the city in order to deal with a bigger army that's waiting for us in there.
Kill with glee!
But that's a minor. Well, it's not a minor. It's a pretty good scheme if you ask me. There is quite a tactical element to the game itself. It adds a lot of tactics to the game. Do I want to get rid of both of my enemies, or do I want to weaken them first and then let them? Do I want to let my enemies weaken themselves by fighting each other, or do I hop into the battle and just take the damage and just take the damage? Take the damage and hope for the best in the next fight. In this case, I'm more or less interested in. Oops. Wrong command. I wanted to tell them to run, not flee, but thankfully their morale will be restored after a brief period. As you can see, it's filling up. Their morale is filling out as we speak, so they should be back to obedient. They should be obedient again in a couple of minutes. Well, not minutes, but a few moments. And as you can see, most of my army is... once I select my whole army, I can choose a different commander or a different unit to...
Let none escape!
Well, basically,
These weaklings
to lead the army in that particular case. But this can be a problem if I want to select one specific unit to do something. If I click on one unit once and just tell him to go there, everyone will follow. So I have to click twice in order to get the desired unit to move. If I want to single out a specific unit, that can be a problem if you're in a hurry.
My kinsmen, get over there!
But there is also one. But since we're here, there is also the inventory screen that I already mentioned. As you can see, in the story, you can equip your hero with different armor pieces and amulets and rings, as well as weapons and shields, as well as backpack items that can, such as potions or bombs, that can be deployed in battle to heal not only your character but also your army, as well as replenish your mana, depending on your personal playstyle.
Strike swiftly!
So, I know there's a fight going on here, and there's a big Chaos army waiting for us there. So let's go up. So I'm just gonna exit this one so you can so that we can wrap this up. as you saw, the game is a pretty big mixture of Warcraft 3 and Total War. It takes the best elements from both games and mixes them well into its own unique blend of gameplay. You are limited when it comes to the number of units in your army, but those units do have several soldiers in them, so there is that feeling of grandeur when you're playing the game. You're not just one hero leading a small band of warriors. You are a commander leading an army, and your commander is not a slouch that will be killed easily. I mean, he can be killed easily if you're not careful with him. If you lead him right in front of a firing line of cannons and guns and arrows and a wall of shields, spears, swords, and axes. Basically, the heroes can be overwhelmed with numbers, but in most cases, they have abilities that let them deal a lot of damage to every unit they encounter. The biggest problem is usually the other heroes that they have to fight in order to survive. And well, there aren't many cutscenes that in the game itself, but actually, tell you what, I'm going to show you one single cutscene so you can. I'm going to show you the starting cutscene of the game. It's most of them when they are
since the end of the Great War.
when they are shown, they're pretty well animated.
The peace that so many
Well,
heroes gave
the
up
CGI
has not settled.
CGI cinematics are wonderful to watch, but the in-game cutscenes are also very well animated and choreographed with camera work and voice acting.
Vicious warriors attack merchant caravans and raid isolated farms and villages. The Emperor's battle-weary soldiers patrol the forests and hills, ever vigilant against bloodthirsty warbands intent on looting and slaughter.
As you can see, these are CGI cutscenes. They're usually there for the openings. I think there are a couple of them at the end, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't get to there just yet, but I think I saw a few of them on YouTube, so that's not gonna spoil the whole thing for you, but just so you can see the in-game cinematics as well. You usually get a pretty good camera work of the in-game models and.
Warrior of the gods.
Who is that? What do you want of me?
I am the herald of the gods. Keep my word, Torgar of the Kazakhs. You have mighty deeds to perform, and great glory to win. The gods have cast their gaze upon you, and you are to be tested.
What sort of test? What would they have me do?
They're chosen.
Alright. So I'm not gonna spoil the story too much. I just wanted to show you a bit of the cinematography in the game itself. As I mentioned, CGI cutscenes, wonderful. In-game cutscenes are also pretty well made with the cinematography and everything. And I think I already mentioned this, but the game doesn't allow you to save mid-mission. So if you have to go AFK for a longer period of time, you'll just have to abandon the whole map, the whole gameplay session, and start again. There is an autosave that will activate every time you finish or after you finish or start the new mission, but you cannot save it mid-mission. You can also save your progress manually, but autosave usually has your back after you visit and leave every checkpoint on the map. Anyway, just so you know, the Bell March is an expansion for the for this game, so it introduced orcs and goblins to the mix. Originally, it was just Empire versus Hordes of Chaos, which was composed of Orcs and Skaven. It was composed of Chaos, Skaven, and Dark Elves on the Chaos side, and the Empire, which was composed of humans and elves. And the Orcs and Goblins just came in for the fun of it, as it's usually the case. Right, I think that about covers the whole game in total. It is a fun experience, and I really cannot recommend it more than I already have. It's pretty cheap on GOG, but if you catch it on sale, I would recommend that you buy it. It's a good price. It has a good value for its asking price, and I think you can play multiplayer without the GameSpy or any other. I think you can set up your own multiplayer sessions pretty easily. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone to play this with, so I really cannot tell you how the multiplayer feels like. But if you have any friends that do enjoy the Warhammer Fantasy and don't want to play, and they don't have enough of a budget to play Total War, this is a good alternative. It's an older game, but graphically speaking, it still holds up very well. As well as the music in the game, as you can probably hear it when I'm not talking. It's a lot of, as I already said, a lot of love and attention to detail has been put into this game, and it shows. It's a very, very well-made RTS and RPG. Anyway, that's about it. From me, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Bedomy, and I hope to see you on the next video.